Hi, I'm Tempered Truth, and in today's video we're going to be having a look at an old project of mine to see what techniques I've used to create interesting vocals. Pitching vocals up and down using plugins such as Wave's Vocal Bender or even Logic's stock pitch plugins. Looking at half-speed vocals to create interesting effects. I'll be using Logic's Beat Breaker for that. Also just chopping up vocals and mixing them in, alternating delay and reverb.
Okay, on the screen here we have all the different tracks I've created for a tune of mine called Under the Scalpel. On this track I have used various different effects throughout the verse. At the end over here I've done a lot of chopping up and so on. Let's have a listen to what I've actually been doing here then.
I hope it answers your questions when you dissect me. You arrange the pieces of the puzzle on a table for me to see. You're in my mind now. Take a piece of my heart out. A cup of skyline and the glowing sunrise on your face. So I'd like to stay up all night, still feel the toxins in my life. So ask me questions, that's alright. That's alright. That's alright.
So in the first verse and chorus there you can hear very subtly in the background to the actual main vocals you have subtle higher vocals, slightly deeper vocals, some kind of delay, various different pitches going on there. Within the chorus I have layered up a number of different vocals to create a harmony with highs and lows of me singing. Later on at the end of the track here, slightly different, so just have a quick listen to this as well.
It's alright.
As the chorus comes to an end, there's build up of reverby delay sound leading into this end part. There is also this part, this deeper vocal repeating, which I'm just going to play out solo on its own. And there's also some vocal chops here at the end. If you know of or have heard of Jamie Woon, that last bit there kind of reminds me of something he would potentially do with vocal kind of snippets all chopped up and looped. And then this deeper kind of vocal here. I also like a band called Miike Snow. They do lots of kind of pitching and interesting things with their vocals. So some of my influences there, if you haven't heard them, go and check them out because they are both good bands if you like kind of synths, interesting vocals and good production. And so the first vocal has got some production on there, and if you want to know a bit more about my basic production, I did do another video called Approaching Vocals for Amateurs or Amateur Vocal Recording Techniques. I can't remember, but I'll put a link in the description and at the end of the video. So if you want to know a bit more about compression, using a vocal rider to alternate vocals to get the consistency of the vocal present in the mix, then go and check out that video. It's quite a long one. There are vocal stamps if you want to just skip to certain sections. Okay, so this vocal here.
I hope it answers your questions When you dissect me,
There's some EQing on there, a
you
little bit of
arrange the
compression.
pieces of the puzzle.
There's already a little bit of delay on there.
For me
It's
to
a little
see.
slap back delay. It's very subtle.
You're in my mind.
I've also chopped
Take a
out
piece of my heart out.
any breathiness rather than using a gate,
And the glowing sunrise
just to kind of clean us
on
up.
your face.
And then also you can use some volume, fade
So I'd
in
like
and
to
out
stay
to get rid of any
up all
clipping.
night.
And then on the second one here, I have taken the first track, created a duplicate track. So if I was going to do that from scratch, I would go up to the top here and you have your duplicate track icon next to the solo button there. You click on that, creates a duplicate of the track you're already on. So all the plugins will be the same. And then what I normally do is I'd select that track and I would drag it down. So copy and paste it down. Hold Option whilst clicking on it and drag it down. It's asking me if I want to copy and paste the automation because this first track has got automation for the Vocal Rider plugin. Like I said, that's in my other video. And I do want to copy that automation, so I'll say copy. So what I've now got is a duplicate of that track. And then what I'll do is I will then try something different on this track. Because what I want to basically do is make it sound like there's more than one vocal going on or more than one singer. I'm going to delete that for now because I've already done this. Okay, so that's what I did here to this lead fourth double. And on this lead fourth double, I have bussed the track. You can see it's all kind of slightly rearranged, but I'll explain that in a second. I've bussed this track to bus number 4. It's not relevant which bus it is, it's just which one's the next empty bus. And on that bus, I have added this Waves vocal bender. Waves vocal bender allows you to do all sorts of strange pitching, creating lots of different interesting, unique effects. The one I've used on this particular channel, backing vocal perfect 4. What I wanted to try and do is I wanted to make it feel like there was somebody else singing in a slightly different key or rather than the same pitch. I bussed it to a different track because at the time I had a feeling that I wanted to send more than one track to this backing vocal perfect 4th track. I'll just open my mixer window here. So over here we have our 2 tracks we're looking at the moment, and it's been bussed to channel 4. Back channel 4 is over here. So let's have a listen to this 4th harmony.
I hope it answers your questions. When you dissect me,
It sounds a bit more higher. Also, some things that are going on that vocal. I have got a tape delay. So that's just a wet mix, no dry signal. Because of that, if you look at the actual track,
I hope it answers your questions.
you can see that the audio starts, but you don't hear any sound until a certain period of time after the audio has started, and that's because I've got this 4th delay on there. So basically, because there's no dry signal, all you're hearing is the wet delay, but that's coming after the actual audio has made its initial sound, which is why these have been moved around. So basically, in some situations, I wanted the vocal to be exactly the same time as the original lead vocal.
I hope it answers your questions.
I wanted them layered on top of each other. So basically, I've had to move this 4th double forward slightly so that when it comes in at the same time as the one above. As in other situations, like this next one here, they're both in line, and what you get is one happening and then the other.
When you dissect me.
So that's what I'm using on these 2 tracks to try and get this feeling of 2 people singing, sometimes together, sometimes slightly off with each other.
You arrange the pieces of the puzzle.
And you can see there, that section of audio there isn't the same length as the section of audio above. I decided I didn't want all of the phrasing, just the end section, because sometimes when people are singing together, they don't always sing every word. Sometimes it's just the last words to add emphasis to that part and so on. And in some situations I haven't put any of them at all, like here. But what I have actually done there is not on its own. As you can see down here, I've created another track. And on this track, vocal bender again, a little louder I've used.
My mind now.
So that's what it's doing, making it deeper. And then I've added this delay, Ultra Dub, one of my favourites. And that over the top of the original.
You're in my mind now. Take a piece of my heart out.
And obviously if you contrast that against the high, which was happening previous to that.
On a table for me to see. You're in my mind now. Take a piece of my heart out.
So I'm mixing and matching. That's to try and keep it fresh. And little surprises which happen in the audio. I've used a high, a low, and then later on, a combination. The new thing I have added is vocal bender again, a lullaby.
Up all night.
quite a weird pitched effect there, going up and down, quite disjointed and slightly unpredictable over the top of the rest of it.
So I'd like to stay up all night, still feel the toxins in my life. So ask me questions, that's alright.
The dad delay there as well. The different layers I've added to this verse. 4 different layers happening there. So we've got high, a low, and then this weird glitchy lullaby with the music.
So I'd like to stay up all night, still feel the toxins in my life. So ask me questions, that's alright. That's alright.
Like I said at the beginning, take the first track, duplicate it, copy the first lead track with the automation, and then when I put my effect on there, I will listen to it with the original track, and I will make decisions as I'm listening. Do I want all of them to apply at every instance of the vocal? And if I'm uncertain, I'll go up to the top here and I'll get my secondary command, my mute tool. Mute individual sections. Maybe I'll mute every other for now and see how that sounds. Through a process of going through that a number of times on a loop, I will make a decision, and then I'll try again, create another duplicate track from the original, and then I'll put a different plugin on, with this case here, and the vocal bender again, a little louder, and then I added the ultra dub delay. And there's no rule, it's down to personal taste. My thoughts are that little subtle are more impactful than continuous things. If it's happening all the time, as you can see here with the little louder, there's only 4 sections of vocal where actually I've applied that, and then the lead lullaby is only at the very end there, so it's quite an interesting surprise. And so if it happens all the way through the track, it's not going to be interesting. So on the chorus, I have done 4 vocals and panning left and right. With the panning, you want probably 1 deep on each side and 1 high on each side, and on here you can see that I've panned 2 left and right completely, and the other 2 are only panned by 20%, and that way you get kind of a bit more spatial quality. Waves were doing a Black Friday sale, so I did buy a handful of plugins including the vocal bender after watching a video and thinking that'd be quite cool. I want to give that a go because I do like doing vocal effects. I did a handful of remixes years ago, and one of the things I enjoyed the most of using up people's vocals is chopping them up and creating almost like an instrument with their voice, which is kind of what Miike Snow does with kind of auto-tune and sampling a section of the vocal and then playing it on a keyboard. It sounds pretty cool. So I want to have a look at this deeper section here. Well, this is a plugin you can actually get with Logic. Before I go any further, I did want to state earlier, I just got distracted there. If you don't have Vocal Bender, you can go into Logic's own plugins, and you've got pitched here, and you've got pitch correction, pitch shifter, vocal transformer. The pitch shifter, you have a fifth, so that could be your replacement for Vocal Bender's perfect fifth. Obviously the vocal transformer, and I did used to use this before to create some glitchy vocals, because you got female rap double high, male double. Basically these do a very similar thing, they kind of pitch things up a bit like a chipmunk or whatever. So play around with these. Okay, so on this one it's a deep vocal, but I haven't used those. What I've used instead is this beat breaker, which I think is a pretty cool plugin. I'm not 100% certain how you use all of the features on it, but I do know that if you go through the presets, you're quite likely to find something that is quite cool. So I'm going to turn this off as I listen to this vocal. So you can hear then that's just basically a small section of the chorus, looped it over and over again. Once I'd looped it, I started applying these different effects, and obviously applying this beat breaker. One of the options, a speed transformer. So to get to it, you go down to multi effects, beat breaker. You've got different things. One of them is halftime. Which is pretty cool. cool. And anyway, I'm not going to go through them all, but there's some pretty cool stuff in there. With that halftime one, it wasn't quite the same as the sound I had. If you look over at the far end here, you have a pencil. So if you click on the pencil, it then gives you little arrows next to each of the options here. So you click on the arrow, even more options available to you. The one that I had was a 75% speed reduction. And there's obviously a lot more in there. Different speeds, gated, pitch shifter, pitched down. What's that sound like? Straight away you've got some really cool, funky, weird vocal things going on there, and I do really love this plugin. Okay, and because obviously there's big gaps in there, I did add a delay with the music. One last thing, so I don't want this video to be too long. I think people only have patience for short things these days. At the end here, I have taken another section of vocal. Quite often I get the ideas for these little snippets because, let's say for example, I'd looped something, like I looped this section here. There might be a snippet of this bit of audio just at the beginning of... Yeah, that must have been what happened. I looped it in the wrong place probably. It just played this very small section of the end of this loop here, this chorus bit here, and created this. So I took that section, I chopped it off, I repeated it. Sometimes these ideas come to you through little mistakes, and I think if you hear something you think, oh, that's cool, you need to run with the ideas. So one more thing I want to quickly show you then. At the end of the chorus, it gets thicker and thicker as it goes into this kind of more instrumental section.
That's alright.
You can hear the vocals all tailing off there. So let's have a look at how that's happening. When I've got vocals, I will bus vocals to different channels depending on what they are. So the majority of the vocals here I've bussed to 13, which I consider to be the main vocals, or the lead, the verse if you like. And that's been bussed over here to 13. The rest of the vocals, the harmonies or the choir for the chorus, I've bussed to 14. On 14, I've then bussed things elsewhere. And the first bus is number 3. And on number 3, fourth note feedback delay, all wet, all the dry signal taken out. When I've created a bus that I want to automate how much of this tape delay is being affected. So you can see here at the bottom then what I've done. I've gone to this track here, this tape delay. I've right clicked on it, create track. And when you click on create track, that channel strip will appear main window. And now that allows me to automate that track. I only wanted that delay to come in at the end and then tail off into this instrumental bit. And there's different things you can automate. Here, in this example, I've automated the volume of that delay. So all the way through the track, the volume for the delay is right down. Right at the end here, the volume automation goes up and then goes down.
That's alright.
Automating the volume was one option. You could have automated it in many different ways. Let's say, for example, you do want delay throughout the whole track, but you just want to have more delay at the end. I could have automated the feedback. If I select feedback, tape delay, feedback allows me to draw a line in the section, and I could have taken the feedback up to, 70, 80, 90, and had this really big, full, chaotic delay, and then I could bring the feedback back down. The other option would be to automate the wet and dry, and you could have your wet all the way down to 0, which means that none of the actual delay is coming through. And then as you want the delay to come through, you draw a line making the wet signal much higher. So there's 3 ways that you can automate the delay. A handful of examples as to how I make vocals more interesting. If you have enjoyed the video, if you found any of this useful, please check out some of my other videos. I do have another vocal videos on synths and reviews on bits of gear. This Kyra here, my Mackie mixer, and I will be doing more reviews in the future, including my Polybrute. I also have music videos, so if you like the sound of the music I'm creating, please check out some of my live performances. My new single, Brown Brittle Frame, I've put up a music video for that recently. This track here, Under the Scalpel, is the title track for my up and coming album. That will be available sometime soon, so please like and subscribe. I will see you in the next video.